everyone, this is Pat Brown again here with another race review here. This is the Benchmark Crit 2018, so I've been sitting on this for a little bit. It happened on August 11 or so I believe it was around 60 degrees. The wind wasn't too bad either way, so that didn't really play a huge factor in this race, but the course most definitely did. So for the first few minutes here, I have just mainly some rear cam. Not a lot happened in terms of breaking away or attacks this field besides what my teammate and I did, and we'll be showing that a little bit later in the race. The main technical feature here is actually a chicane, and for a category 4-5 race, which is what this is in, actually that plays quite a big role. So here's the chicane here. You can see riders not taking that quite well. The guy in the red going from the inside all the way to the outside, even with riders right next to him, just not really being safe at this point. I think that there's a real big difference between category 4-5s and then when you move on to 3s and then the 1-2-3s, where people tend to kind of give a little bit more room, especially in the middle of the race, and then at the end they get a little bit more picky on exactly what line they're going to choose, because then it matters a little bit more about their position at that time. But in the 4-5s, I feel like a lot of new racers don't know exactly what they need to do in terms of especially something technical like a chicane. So making sure that you if you're on the inside, you try to keep to the inside and give room to the outside, and then likewise for the other way. So on this course, there's that chicane that I was talking about. So there's a start-finish line, and there's a nice bend around, and then it goes to the chicane, and then it's a little bit uphill. And then when it goes to finish off, there's a left-hand turn. So there's the start-finish. Then there's a left-hand turn, and that left-hand turn then just takes you uphill a little bit longer, and then it's a nice swooping downhill that it's a little bit tough to sprint out of the saddle in. But you can definitely do it if you're really trying to. So you just saw back there the guy in the red, white, and blue. Yeah, right there. That's my teammate there, Aaron McNanny. At this point in our cycling careers, he definitely has more races under his belt. And so we kind of tried to stick together, and we had a little bit of a plan coming in. We wanted it all to come down to a sprint, and that was only if we couldn't get away. So we wanted to try maybe once or twice to see if we could get a break going, which is exactly what's going on here. I told him, block on the front, I'm gonna go away and see if we can make something happen. But then everyone was chasing hard. You see they're all lined out now, and they just didn't really want to let anyone go. And so we said, okay, well there's our first shot at getting a breakaway going. So we'll try one more time, and then just let it come down to the sprint. Because in our experience, typically the 4-5s in this area would pretty much always come down to a sprint. So that's kind of how we just let it play out. But since it was a little bit of a technical course, we thought that it would actually be a good idea to try to make something happen with that chicane, especially. So that's technically the last turn there, and so there's a little bit of an uphill here, and then we start going downhill. So we were hoping this was going to be our second move to try to form a break. As 4-5s, we thought, hey, we try to get away, just us two, we'll snap, and then we'll just really try to work together. But I would say in the 4-5s, from my experience, it's mostly a bunch of individual riders that would rather waste their legs on trying to bring people back rather than trying to make moves themselves. And I feel like it can be quite a bit easier to use multiple riders to bring someone back rather than trying to make your own luck in a breakaway. So unfortunately, we at around this point or so, we get caught. And that's you can see we're caught by a pretty strong rider there. You'll see him later in the race here. So not a whole lot else happened in terms of people trying to break away or make moves. It seemed like it was really just my teammate and I that really wanted to animate the race, and so then we're just kind of sitting in at this point. So we're about to go, and this is actually one to go, and you can see once the bell's rung, now everyone feels like they're in it for the sprint. So I'd say kind of on the back foot a little bit at this point, because we're definitely a bit swarmed, and it's also a little bit sketchy going into this chicane, especially at probably a little bit faster speed than we're used to with that. But just happy we kind of got through that safely, because there was actually a race earlier in the day in the Cat 123s that where someone went off, and they snapped their fork in half, and that was their day. So this is a nice little bit of a sharp uphill. It's not too bad, but you can see people putting down a lot of power trying to stretch it out. But then for me it seemed kind of odd. It all kind of bunched up a little bit. So I thought, why not try going early? And with this little uphill drag, if people wanted to get on my wheel, they would have to either snap right with me, or I'd get a little bit of a gap. And I ended up getting a little bit of a gap here. Got into the saddle, powered down, and that was pretty much the race. So when it comes down to this race specifically, it's actually the benchmark crit here is actually a qualifying race for a race later in the day, which is the Rothman Institute race that takes place in Westchester, just a few miles from this course, which is actually really cool because it's where they did USA Cycling races later in the day, which are the night events. So it's really cool to be being able to race that same course. So that's basically the race. Trying out an early sprint for the win, and it ended up working out. Kind of caught people by surprise. So, all right. I hope you enjoyed the review, and we'll catch you next time.